What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Game Dev Unchained, the #1 podcast about game development and the lifestyle thereof. What's up, everybody? I am your host, Brandon Pham, and this is a Roundtable news episode, and that means Ray Graham is just around the corner. How you doing, Ray?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I am doing good, dude. It's kind of like a quick COVID report. We kind of had a little warm up, but how are you hanging over there?
Yeah, I just need my vaccine at this point. You know, like I'm at that point now where I'm just like, where's the vaccine at? But
I think by now you know a lot of people that's gotten it right now, right? So they're not barfing and choking. No, not yet.
I don't know a lot of people. Yeah, I don't know.
No one. You don't know a nurse or a doctor working in the hospital or something.
No, I don't have any hookups, and I think I only know a few people that I know directly that came down with COVID, but otherwise, no.
Well, you got to get out of the server rooms, man, and meet some real people who do actual things.
Well, that's the thing. You're not supposed to be doing actual things right now. Right? That's the whole thing.
You're supposed to be in the hot zone helping people. Yeah, at least for me, I've had a few friends that are nurses or in the medical field or in these like at least essential worker areas where they can have access, and there's like 2 shots, and so far they've been okay. So there is like a mutation thing going on, but I don't know. Let's worry about that later. Yeah, but I know we're late, so without any formal introduction, let's go ahead and get right to it, man. I'm gonna go over to our background. Here. All right, here we go.
Where are you pulling up?
I'm pulling this up, and I got to pull this up actually right now. So the topic of today's Roundtable news is none other Stadia, right? That didn't stay too long, as I kind of guessed. I want to know your initial reaction. I know you kind of got into it a bit in the Discord channel, but can you give your general view of the news and how are your friends doing, man?
Oh, my friend. No, I'm bummed. I'm bummed about it, honestly, because I thought at least, like, you know, it's not surprising, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I thought at least they were like, yo, make one game. You know what I mean? But, you know, at the end of the day, and also, of course, that decision was made right before their earnings, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when money's being spent, you gotta make some hard choices, right? They knew that stuff wasn't like when they started doing first party games. They had enough people on staff to know that making first party games is hard and making video games is hard. So like, I hate how the announcement kind of spun it as like, this is something we kind of just noticed. We just now are noticing that making video games costs a lot of money. Like, they knew that, and they knew that it was going to take a while, but it's just like, why put money into something like that, you know, when nobody playing Stadia, really, when the user numbers don't really justify the cost that they're going to put into it, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, makes sense. It makes sense.
It's definitely sad. I kind of said so myself that I kind of figured, you know, this long kind of streak that we had with no layoff story, right, was kind of weird. And I didn't imagine Google would be the first one. I was kind of like you, like they would at least invest enough for this group that they all hired, right, that are professional game developers, to kind of push one out there and like show why Stadia exclusives are important. And we know with exclusives, right, they're the only ones that are going to really show the true power of their system or whatever, right? Without that, I don't think they have a trump card anymore. I don't think they have technology, sure, but I'm starting to see through the grapevine, like a lot of LinkedIn are kind of showing like, no, it's not just the development team. Like a lot of their core networking team and everything are starting to get laid off too.
I would say the core networking, but it's the people that are getting let go is the folks that are like research. I know some folks on research side, content, anything to do with any sort of content on Stadia. Like, because here's the thing, right? Making content is hard. Being a content provider is hard. Google ain't in that business. You know what I mean? They're in the business of technology. They've proven that the technology works. Nobody wants to play it, but they've they've proven that it works, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, what do we do with this thing, right? And if you read between the lines of their actual announcement, like, you know, it's kind of clear that they're going to start trying to license it out. You know, like if somebody says, "Hey, I'm a content provider and I want to have my own content streaming service," much like how everybody wants their own movie streaming service. They could go to Google and be like, "Hey, give us the tech. We'll pay you some money,
Mm-hmm.
and then we deal with the issue of like making games for this thing and making the content." And Google just sits back and makes platform. You know what I mean? And just chills out. That is a bigger money maker than actually making content that could possibly flop and just be burning money in Google's pocket, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always like a difficult thing for people to come to grips with. I do understand, like, there's a proven, at least technology wise, it was smooth as butter. I do think the streaming technology is not like on live at all. Like the world wasn't ready. I think if anything, the world is super ready.
Do you think so? Do you think the world's ready if nobody played it?
I don't think people were ready for Stadia, but I think people were looking forward to Xbox and what they're offering, what PlayStation, you know, can pull for their content library. Like there was a good amount of like people kind of rooting for Stadia, right? With that ridiculous pricing structure that came out, and they just completely fumbled it, right? And I still think they did good PR even up to this point, right? What was a missed opportunity was the pandemic. What was another recent missed opportunity was Cyberpunk, right? Cyberpunk PC didn't get as much dinging as the last gen. It had bugs, but there was actually people kind of rooting for, well, this is actually a great case scenario why Stadia is perfect for someone who doesn't have a console.
I mean, how much better can you get? Like, they did a good job with Cyberpunk, right? They had numerous favorable articles that came out saying the best way to play Cyberpunk is on Stadia. Like there was numerous times that was said that it's, if you didn't have a next gen console, because nobody could get one at the time, if you didn't have a $3,000 PC, the best way to play Stadia was the best way to play Cyberpunk was on Stadia, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, it doesn't get much better than that when numerous people are telling you, like, you know what I mean, right? But the reason why nobody wanted to play it is because, like, why? Like, why do I need to play Cyberpunk on Stadia when I could play it on other platforms, right?
Yeah.
It needed the app. That's the thing. It needed the killer app to say, this is why Stadia is dope. You know, this is why you should be playing Stadia. And there just wasn't that. It was just a bunch of games ported to it. And some of them did have some exclusive features that came later, but that was after everybody was already like uninterested in whatever Stadia was doing, right?
Well, I mean, how late were they? Was this avoidable from the beginning of, well, not the beginning, probably mid last year to now? Like, what moves could they have done differently to kind of?
It was avoidable from day one. It was avoidable from day one if they just had launch titles, first party launch titles from day one that were ready. Right, like like how they even got into it, and just thinking, oh, we could get into it and then come out with first party titles 3 years later. You know,
that's crazy.
That seems crazy to me, right? You know, but then I think the pivot that they're pivoting now to use this, it's a platform, right? So Stadia as a brand, as a consumer brand, is probably dead, right? Like Stadia is dead, right? But as the tech itself, somebody else may pick it up and make it, you know, the Activision streaming platform or whatever, like whoever, right?
Yeah. It's sad, man. Well, thankfully, usually these come in threes, like celebrity deaths, right? But it didn't sound like there was another layoff story. I mean, I don't even know the exact numbers of how big that team was. Like, how many people did they lay off exactly?
No, but you heard like they said they're going to find people other positions within Google, right? So I'm sure there's a good.
Come on, are you you falling for that? It's a classic of using
it's this, right?
Yeah.
No, it's this, right? Like if you are okay, first of all, you have to understand they probably got Google RSUs and stuff that vest over numerous years. Yeah. So it might not be the best idea to just bounce and leave all that on the table, right? Yeah. But the second thing is like if you're like, I'm cool doing other tech, whatever Google has on deck, I'm cool with doing that and like staying at Google. Like I'm sure there's jobs for people to do, but I'm sure some of them are like, no, I want to make video games. That's why I'm here to make video games. And if there's no video games to be made, I'm out. Right. So I'm sure there's some percentage that are staying and some percentage that are going because they just want to make video games.
Well, at least for the person that was like the creative force of Stadia, she's gone. Jade Raymond is out the door. And what an unlucky streak she's been on, man. It seems like she's... I feel like we know someone in history that has that knack of shutting down studios everywhere that they go, right? So I don't know. I mean, again, might be not through her fault, but if you're supposed to be building these studios from the ground up and have all the money in the world, I mean, you got to take some kind of responsibility here. How much is it to blame to Jade? I know she, you guys are buddy, you guys had house parties and stuff. But I would love to kind of hear your untainted opinion of how much responsibility is there as a creative of a studio to fail.
I think it'd be one thing if they released the game, it flopped,
and then
Stadia is not successful, and then they flush it, right? And it's another thing to say, hire a team, build a new office, do all the things, and then before you're even able to finish doing the thing, they're like, nah, right? Right. So that seems like it's kind of like the bean counters and the financial folks are like, no, we have to turn this around. We have to recoup some of this. Like, nah, we can't do this.
I'm sure there was at least, as we can imagine, right? Internal meetings. You were kind of mentioning this kind of happened before our earnings call. Mm-hmm. Internal reviews, green light meetings that just wasn't meeting up to standards, or at least what was promised, right? As we can probably guess, it probably didn't meet certain deadlines here.
I can guarantee you it probably hit deadlines, but they're like, guys, you want us to knock people's socks off? We need we need $200-300 million to make this video game.
Asking for more,
right? Yeah, and Google's like, nah, like, right? You know what I mean? Right? So like that's probably what happened, right? It's probably all about like the cost benefit to Google, and they're like, why are we doing this? And also, like, they're not a company that makes video games. They don't understand this. Like, I don't understand why they even got into it in the first place. You know what I mean? But they did. I
will say this.
And it's like, nah, we can't do this. This is just too much. Right?
It's a bit short-term thinking. Like, if they quit now, that means they're never going to go back in.
Yeah.
And video games, if anything, is growing as the pandemic shows. And I really do think Facebook is on the cusp of like really proving out VR to the masses, right? With their quests. And for Google to not have any part of that into the future, I think it is a mistake that they are cutting their losses too early.
Do you think they don't have, like, that's what I'm saying. Here's the headline: focusing on Stadia's future as a platform.
Bro, I don't care, dude.
No, you don't care, but like from their perspective, right?
They don't understand what makes a system important, man.
Is it easier to dig
run servers,
to dig a ditch, or to sell the shovels? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Right? That's basically what they're doing, right? They're like, let's just sell it as a service. You know?
Yeah, okay, but Google has a knack for like quitting the shovel business and the whole business all at once because it's not Google Maps or Google Search.
I will admit that that even now, if you came to me and say, hey, here's Stadia as a platform, do you want to pay us a licensing fee? Like, how can I trust if it's still going to be around
exactly.
10 years from now.
Well,
I understand that.
well, I mean, you're one of these suckers, right? You got this. We got it for free, but you have $150 wastebasket or like a.
I got a Chromecast out of the deal, and the Chromecast does stuff, so that's fine.
All right. I mean, you want to navigate down loser talk, sure, but like that's a lot of disappointed people. Like if I had one right now, right, I could imagine like this is going nowhere. They're quitting. And from the get-go, they've been failing me from launch to now. There's no way this is going to get any better.
At the end of the day, streaming may be a thing, and it may be something that is a thing in the future.
Stadia has canceled the.
There's xCloud. There's people. There's other players coming with stuff, right? It's still going to be a thing, right? And so just Google Stadia was a blip to show what was possible, right? And to show, hey, it is possible. The tech does work, right? And now it's really up to somebody else to really productize it and make it.
Yeah, like PlayStation, Xbox is like, yeah, we know it works, you idiot. Stop bothering us. We don't need you to tell us how to run a game business.
Well, Stadia was better than PlayStation now. Let's just be real.
I'm sure in terms of lag-free experience, but that still, people are still, I think, giving those other platforms a chance because they're in it to stay with it, and that I think that speaks volumes to our customer loyalty. It's like there's nothing worse than buying a Windows phone to find out. I can remember the day that Ronaldo talked me into it, and he was like, "Windows, dude. Don't you use Windows on your PC?" Right? So now it's on the phone. It's not going anywhere. 2-3 years later, he was like one of the first one out of it. It's like this going shit nowhere, right? And it was the most disheartening.
Quite frankly, he was not one of the first ones out of it. He was hanging on to that Windows phone up until like a year or 2 years.
Up until like the Chase app, the banking apps said that they would stop supporting Windows. It's the saddest notices ever. But it's like, are they actually like, does it cost them to maintain this, to not update anymore? Does it? Is that how it works? So it's so bad that they rather just say goodbye to a few hundred people than even spend any more time on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, being a victim of that, I it's really hard to go back. Like if Windows suddenly transformed themselves, they're like, hey, we figured out the kinks. You lost me, man. Same thing with Stadia. You killed a part of me a long time ago. There's no way Stadia is a thing ever. There's just nowhere coming back. I mean, I'm starting to see studios severing ties. These third party that are supposedly the focus of Stadia are slowly cutting ties with them. So I mean, the writing's on the wall. There's no one's left except for Phil.
Well, the only people that were like the games that were on Stadia were bought and paid for mostly, right? So they're like, yeah, sure, we'll put your.
All right, so they're just finishing right? What's on. Yeah, they're not out there fishing for more developers.
Yeah, well, I would imagine with this new focus that they're definitely not looking to put more games on. Like, I cannot see Stadia as a brand living much longer.
Yeah, it's gone.
And with the notice of shutting down SG&E, they very well could have just said, "Hey, we're just going to kill Stadia entirely as a brand and pivot it elsewhere." But they stopped short of that, which that's also kind of odd to me.
What is this? I'm trying to read this. No one support platforms moving forward. Have not done anything to violate your terms of service. See, every time I see at Google Stadia, what is this about? Do you know some context to this?
I have some context to that, but that's nothing really. That's just like the headlines were all like trying to blow it up, but it's really just homeboy lost access to all of his Google stuff somehow through some reason. He's like, this is unacceptable. I'm going to just make sure my game doesn't come to Stadia at this point because Google's trash. That's really what happened, right? It has nothing really to do with SG&E being shut down. It's more to do with his personal Google account got wiped somehow, or he lost access to it somehow, and then got really mad about it.
Yeah. Well, Terraria is a big game.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so, though. You know what I mean? So.
All right, here's some numbers here. 150 employees. That's all they had? That was it?
Yeah.
So recently shut down all of its internal game studio, affecting approximately 150 people. Well, I thought they were like in the thousands or something. So they were still growing. Yeah, so there's no way, man, to build a AAA game with 150. Come on now.
Well, you got to start small. Like, you have to figure out what you're doing first, right? I did a team in Montreal. We had a team down in...
You start small 3 years ago. You don't start small 3 years in. So probably there is some credence to what you're saying. Now they're asking for 300 mil or growing the team bigger.
And Google's like, what do you mean? Like, you saw the letter that they wrote. Like, what does this say? Let
me find it. A formal letter of why they're shutting down.
Yeah.
I guess it is worth reading. Let me kind of pull it up right now. Was it Phil that wrote it?
Yeah, there's a letter from Phil, but
that dude, where else he's gonna run to, dude?
Yeah, see, like one of the paragraphs in 2021, we're expanding our efforts to help game developers and publishers take advantage of our platform technology and deliver games directly to their players. We see an important opportunity to work with partners seeking a gaming solution, all built on Stadia's advanced technical infrastructure and platform tools. We believe this is the best path to building Stadia into a long-term sustainable business that grows with the industry, right? So this business saying, video games ain't where it's at. We're talking about, like, because at the same time, the amount of money that Google's dealing with and the type of profit and scale that they're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Like, video games ain't that for them. You know what I mean? And they're like, no, like, the way to get scale and make it a long-term sustainable thing is to turn it into a platform, right? And like, it makes sense if you're on the bean counter side of things, you know what I mean? And you're just like trying to make it make sense. How do we get the maximum amount of profit out of the money that we spend?
Yeah, but no one's going to your yard to taste your milk. If you're not doing any custom stuff to show off the technology, because people are converting stuff maybe, but it's going to be minimum spec of just like it being there to show true power of exclusivity. It's important.
And the one thing about this too, where the letter where it goes, what does this mean if you're a current or future Stadia gamer? You could continue playing all your games on Stadia and Stadia Pro, and we'll continue to bring new titles from third parties to the platform. We're committed to the future of cloud gaming, and we'll continue to do our part to drive this industry forward. That paragraph, I don't believe you, bro. Like, I don't believe. I just don't believe you at that point, right?
Oh yeah, it's a done deal at this point.
That's where you lost me, right? So
yeah,
we'll see. Yeah.
Oh my god! So like, there's so many things to this where I told you so, man. I told everybody on this show. As soon as it was announced, it's like, it's Google, man. They're gonna quit as soon as it doesn't look like $1 billion thing day one.
I'll just challenge you a bit and say you're like you figure the whole Stadia thing would just flop and be dead off, right?
It's dead, dude.
It's still
you're holding on to a corpse, dude.
It's still alive as a
spoiler, like Wanda with Vision. You're holding on to a corpse. Get out of Westfield. Westview.
why are you spoiling?
It's episode 4 and it's your fault for not watching the best show ever. But
some people are waiting for the whole season to be done before.
Yeah, and they're lame. They're prolonging their chances of being spoiled. It's not my fault. But yeah, there's nothing left here. I will say streaming is still kicking and alive. there's so many streaming services. Even Nvidia, ironically, is lasting longer than Stadia at this point.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming. I thought Stadia would stay a little longer. But you know what Xbox is doing and their focus of like acquiring like some major studio power and IP is really exciting. I think they're gonna, out of everybody, is going to do it right. They're going to have the content exclusives to make it fun and awesome, and PlayStation will kind of lag behind in terms of that because they have such a strong $60 $70 purchase strategy going.
I have no idea what Sony's doing in terms of cloud gaming, honestly, because PlayStation Now is not it, right?
PlayStation Now is a slow test, but what they have is like this library of PlayStation previous generations that, like Nintendo, they just put it somewhere, man. I'll be happy to tune in and play Final Fantasy, any of them really, just to have a service going and not be worried about my phone chugging and stuff like that. There's a lot of value in it for sure.
I don't know. I clearly see what Microsoft is doing, like clear as day. I don't see what Sony's doing with the whole streaming thing at all. Amazon is in the mix, of course.
Amazon.
I mean, you're not talking about that article, but anyway.
Where was so the last article was
the Bloomberg article.
I don't know the specific article. The last thing I saw was that new CEO really putting a focus on the gaming division. Like he as part of his, which is pretty surprising of a CEO's like highlighting games as like one of his focus.
I'll say that's very convenient after the Bloomberg article.
Okay, so what was the Bloomberg article? I'll pull it up as you kind of go over.
Man. Well, it was just like another, Jason
Schreier thing.
Schreier
ripping a new one.
Expose just talking about the video game division of Amazon Game Studios, and it was not very flattering.
Oh, you mean they suck?
And I think the headline was something like, Amazon
here we go.
So much money, but why can't they make a good game or something? I can't even remember what the headline was.
Well, I hate to say it. They just got the wrong people running the ship. So here's the Bloomberg article.
You basically
Amazon.
You basically summarized the multiple page long article. Yes, they had the wrong people running the ship.
Amazon can make just about anything except a good video game.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So I think they probably have a hand in Google's decisions. Like, hey, who's similar to us? Who's kind of a little ahead of us? Who has the muscle power? Oh shit! Down the block, Amazon. How many years are in?
Here's the thing: that article is talking about their game division, which is actually separate from the division that's doing Luna, right? And
Luna's their engine.
Well, Luna is the streaming service there.
Oh, streaming service.
And
okay.
The game thing is like Lumberyard and the actual video.
Lumberyard. Yeah, that's right.
Like if you could name one video game that Amazon Game Studios is making without looking it up, I would be really impressed.
Dude, I'd be impressed if someone's actively looking for a game that Amazon is working on. Let's just take it one step at a time. Who's really caring at this point?
I think two of them came out. Two of them have come out, actually. The Grand Tour game was from Amazon Game Studios.
Sure, no one's playing it.
And then also Crucible, which was a free-to-play game, and it got shut down like sometime in October.
Because it's a dumb name for a game. There's nothing exciting about that. Everything I've heard about Amazon and them trying to figure this out and pump something out, it's, again, we're not talking about the individual talented developers. It's just mismanagement, really. It's not understanding how the game dev business work. And I think at least through the grapevine, there's just been challenges internally of not really breeding creativity. And that's just classic bad studio culture. And so under those environments, you can't pressure someone to make a hit. And you have these egos that are probably underqualified to even take care of things, and they're running the ship. to the ground. I mean, what's guys, like, if you want to rent me to give you a 101 on game development, I'll be happy to tell you. And I can do that, like, you know, Eastern Asian thing where I read your face and be able to tell your whole life just from the expression of your face. He's an asshole. Don't trust that guy. Don't go down that hall. You'll never come back with any productive, right? That group is trouble. But I will say this. I do respect that they are going and they are cranking it and they have the willpower to figure it out. And the thing is,
yeah, honestly, I was calling their demise much sooner than Google Stadia. Like,
yeah. So see how far wrong you are. Yet again, Brandon is correct. Well, Amazon will
figure it out. Here's the thing. Am I wrong? Right, when they have shipped no games, or the games they have shipped have been bad and have been canceled, or like which one's worse? Like completely shutting down and just giving up, or keep going and just never shipping anything of any.
The latter, by far, because then our friends keep getting employed and they get paid pretty damn good salary, right?
From that article, if you read that, yeah, pretty good salary, but that's also what bred the studio culture. That's what made people miserable, and that's what really made it a terrible place for a lot of people.
Well, I think during the pandemic, people are actually okay. It's like, this is not so bad. Now that I'm away from that a-hole, Amazon is pretty amazing. Right? You got to look at the perspective of things, like,
and then also like the whole decision around in choosing CryEngine as your engine, and then modifying it, and then saying you have to ship games on this thing, and then
was that weird?
And then switching gears and saying, okay, well, yeah, no, you could choose whatever engine you want to do your game on after spending years of burning money.
So I didn't hear about that part. Is that last part in the article, or recent years? They just
it's in the article. It's in the article. Yeah, but it's just like, come on, man, like, you know.
Because at that point, management just want to ship something that looks good.
Actually, one of the articles was talking about this, and the article was talking about, one of the quotes from the article that I was just laughing at was like, instead of choosing like Unity or Unreal, which is like, you know, Unreal is the Coca-Cola and Unity is the Pepsi.
Yeah,
they decided to make RC Cola. Right, and I could not stop laughing at that quote. Yeah,
it's true. I mean, obviously, the decision
that's cold blood. That's a cold blood quote.
The decision of pulling CryEngine out of the fire and use that as a foundation for your engine was always a weird one. It's obviously a business decision, right? It's like, hey, we're serious about this. We're going to be able to not have to pay licensing fees every time we have an idea.
Yeah, here it is. Amazon's designers and programmers needed a game engine, a collection of tools used to build games. For most studios, there are really only two options. Epic's Unreal Engine is Coke, and Unity Software Inc. is Pepsi. Amazon, in effect, decided to make an RC Cola.
But it's those hilarious moments, man, that you got to laugh as an insider at the studio. I mean, I'm sure those decisions were all coming from top down, right? There's nobody as a developer.
I kind of disagree with that, though. I think there is some benefit to owning your own tech stack,
of course,
and building your own engine and like doing all those things. And especially if you like, the reason why people don't do it or it's not recommended is because it costs money, right?
Costs money, dedicated group of people just doing that. Yeah.
But you telling me that Amazon don't got money to spend on that, right? So like it makes sense in that way. But then, but at the same time, making a video game and building an engine at the same time is also one of the. You're just doing that on hard mode at that point, right? It just makes it harder.
It's the biggest no-no.
Harder for your game to be good, you know. So,
yeah, there's an advantage of having a dedicated company.
Yeah.
Concentrating on the tools and upgrading that without having to worry about an IP, for sure. I mean, we've seen it over and over again.
Yeah.
I still gotta respect Amazon's stubbornness, though. Like, to me, Google is just a bunch of quitters, man. Like, everything about them just like
you say that as I look at the stock tickers and go like this.
I don't know about, man. If
they don't seem like
in terms of in
like
terms of adoption of new programs, I have to say it's got to be below 5% of customer loyalty. Everybody knows whatever new thing that looks promising is getting shut down. That can't be a good percentage for new projects, right?
Somebody I was talking to
internally and externally.
I was talking to a friend of mine about this, right? Google just operates at a different scale, right? Their scale is Google search. How many people use Google search every single day? It's billions, right? Like it's stupid, right? It's like a lot of people, right? That's the scale they're operating at. And so you're telling me they're going to release I was mad when they got rid of Google Reader, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So, or they got rid of Wave. Like I remember those things, right? But you're telling me Google Reader had what maybe a couple 100,000 people using it at the scale Google's operating at. It don't make no sense to keep that going.
But like everything, right? You know what I mean? That becomes big, it starts small. Google search was a thing. It didn't just blow up overnight. It took time.
Sure.
But like if they're just shooting everything as it's growing, they're gonna shoot down the innovate. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing of making it the alphabet was to kind of have because they themselves recognize if you're not innovating, then you're going to be falling behind, right? They themselves recognize that. That's why the alphabet contains like multiple versions of these smaller companies, right?
I mean, but are you telling me they're not innovating? Like they're spinning up small, experimental, super costly things, trying to innovate, and then when they're like, nah, and then they bounce to the next thing.
No.
Like that's
but they're doing it so much now. I think internally morale can't be good. Externally, as a customer, it is definitely not good. I don't believe in anything they say anymore. They bought Fitbit, right? And I got a Fitbit, and you know what I'm worried about? They're gonna shut this motherfucker down. I was like, oh my god, this watch is gonna be obsolete in 2 years' time.
In favor of a Google Pixel Fitbit or something. Yeah.
Even then, that thing's they're not gonna have watches anymore in a few years. Like that's how far they've gone with this shutting down as soon as they open up. I will say this. The biggest point, at least for gaming related stuff, YouTube should have been Twitch, right? But because they didn't experiment towards that live streaming as much as they should have, right? They just kind of are like the comfortable, gluttonous king, right? They never went down that route to discover, well, how is Twitch? Like, I still love YouTube Live tools better than Twitch. I think Twitch is still trash, and they have a lot to kind of catch up to YouTube's, at least infrastructure, right? Yeah. But like, they're still number one, and I think it's that's a multi-billion-dollar industry that YouTube is still now trying to get into, but it's too late.
I haven't been paying any attention to that, but I like the podcasts or the streams that I do watch. I watch a fair amount of them on YouTube, and there's also a fair amount of them on Twitch as well, right? Like I don't know what the market share.
It's
percentages are there at all.
In terms of streaming, man, there's a reason why, like, the stream kings are over at Twitch, and Dr. Disrespect is pissed that he's not over there. It's just in terms of millions of hours watched, it's like at a 10th, right? It's not even half. So it's very far off. But like, why did that happen, right? I think it's decisions like this where
at the same time, though,
Google's too comfortable.
At the same time, YouTube streams all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, and not just gaming. So like I don't know, right? You know what I mean? Like I think their focus is they try to get in gaming with YouTube gaming and all that, but that just seems.
No, it's too late. No one cares about it.
Poorly thought out. Yeah,
it's poorly thought out, but they don't have. Again, it's a runway issue, right?
Yeah,
they could have figured it out, and they should be Twitch at everything, but they're not. And it's because they cut short of it because, 2 weeks time, they're not better than Twitch for some reason. Why aren't we better than Twitch? It's poor mentality. Like in the same way,
they got graphs and charts. They're like, oh, we got to spend another this much amount to get this. Nah, we're not doing.
Yeah, so I don't respect it. Like Amazon, to me at least, they try everything.
Drunken uncle spending. This
if you have all the money in the world, and Google does, and there's like an excess of cash, it's like throw money at it and figure this shit out. Like I respect people who like stubbornly figure things out. Yeah. Because as in terms of a customer loyalty, like, I know Amazon's not shutting down anything, but Google, I feel like they shut down everything. It's like it's very polar opposite how these two tech companies operate.
At the end of the day, I ain't playing any of those games, bro.
No, I'm not playing any of those Amazon games.
It doesn't matter how stubborn they could be.
But what's scary is that, I feel like because they're in year 8 or whatever, right? Yeah. They'll be around in year 20. And honestly, like how they run out the mom and pop shops in every town, right? It's just a matter of time that they're going to crack that nut and they're going to have the right people, probably the Respawn co-founders get bored of EA and they need a new place to stay, right? It just takes that little small monumental move to kind of turn a studio around. And I think if they're around by year 20, they're going to have that. Hey, we have all the money in the world. We're super connected with Luna, with Twitch streaming, right? We just need the right game with the right people. Can you do that? It's like, all right, move aside, Double Helix. Let me show you how to make real games here. But I don't know, that longevity thing it's saddening to hear that Stadia is closing up, because I do think they have that advantage. I was really looking forward to kind of seeing that jump into watching a YouTube stream and then be able to play the game like Rocket League right then and there, right? That is so cool. And out of everybody, I think they're the only ones that can do that. Like Amazon can't do that. PlayStation and Xbox wishes they can do that. It's just sad. It's so much potential. Whoever does their trailers, man, he should be in charge. He's like, whoa, what are you guys doing? You want to spend 8 years? I want cool shit now. How do I get cool shit now?
Focusing on Stadia's future as a platform. I'm just going to leave you with that.
Yeah.
That is the direction it's going, and EA might go, hey, we want to do some streaming. Okay, let's just buy this tech. Comes as a package and let's start doing our streaming stuff with our content.
I doubt it, dude. I doubt it. I'll be very surprised if anyone we talked about internally and externally, right? And third parties, right? Especially small indie groups, but like big companies, they've done, dude. They're not gonna exchange shaking of hands with Google at this point. It's like, you guys are not gonna even be around in 2 months. What deals can we make here? I'm not gonna spend my resources if your guys aren't. There's nothing there, dude.
Like I agree. No, I agree with you on that part where it would be a very I would need all sorts of assurances that that this stuff is still going to be around if I'm going to base a lot of stuff on it, right?
Yeah, it's basically going to be Phil Harrison with his green screen. Shows like, yeah, we have a whole team behind me. It's just him. At his home. It's like, this is it. This is the Google team. Don't you trust us? Everyone's at work.
You know what's crazy? I have friends over there who didn't get laid off but are on Stadia.
Still.
And so they're on the hardware side or on the SDK side or whatever.
What are they doing?
And I mean, they still getting paid, so that's why they're still, you know what I mean? And the recruiters, man, are just like, the day of, the body was not even cold yet, and the recruiters the emails were flying, and I'm just like, wow, like, that's kind of crazy.
Flying from the Google or for Google people?
For Google. Like, they were receiving numerous emails on day one. Like, as soon as it got announced, hour later, emails were getting sent out about.
Of course,
hey,
man. It has been the most stable year for game developers in game development history, of these like Christmas moments for recruiters.
You call this stable? Is that what you call this?
Bro, it's this year, this pandemic year for game developers. What other layoff story have you heard? This is the only one.
No, you're right. I haven't heard any layoff stories, but I wouldn't necessarily call this stable. Like this is crazy, man. This
is stable compared to what
stable in terms of
had.
Like, you're not going to get fired. Maybe
no, man. People are piling on and like, holding on to like employees like crazy just to meet these deadlines. If not, they're asking for more people.
Well, the one thing that's happening during the pandemic is people are playing more video games.
Oh yeah.
More demand.
Playing more, and then people are having trouble kind of still transitioning and getting deadlines done. So there's actually more recruitment for teams to kind of get the system going.
Right.
And when Google Stadia happened with the layoffs, that's Christmas time for recruiters, man. Those guys are vultures. It always starts like the same way too. The fakeness is like, oh, I'm sorry for the loss, but hey guys, we are actually having a few openings. Why don't you check it out? Maybe we can help you out. It's within two sentences.
But it always starts like that. Yeah, it always starts like that. Oh man, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
By any chance, would you be interested in it?
I'm just waiting for someone that, they always copy paste that, right? Just blank. Just leave the blank name as to like fill in the blank.
Hi, your name here.
Yeah. I feel sorry for what happened, but I wish we can be helpful here, which is good in a way, of course. It's good to kind of see the industry. It's weird. It's those moments where I feel like it's always weird. It's like we're either very polarized of like, get out of here, here's your 2-week notice, or it's like, hey, come over on this side, where we're not like them. It's like you're exactly like them when things go bad. But hopefully, I don't know. In a weird way, I hope this pandemic extends. I do like the fact of this period. This period of no layoffs have been pretty peaceful for at least my friends and everybody that's in it.
Like, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I understand that that's a good goal to have. But like, maybe we should have
no. In reality, we want to get out of here.
Maybe we should have that goal and also getting out of quarantine.
I'm sorry, bro. It doesn't happen that way. As soon as we get back in the office and we have these producers on our backs, suddenly deadlines don't matter anymore and budgets become everything.
But there's a lot of companies that are like, oh yeah, we can do this remote thing, like
permanently.
Even after COVID's over, they might just do that permanently.
That sounds great, man. I hope so. I think at the very least, we're starting to see people giving options.
Yeah.
We know the Stadia team for a fact can't do it. It didn't work for them.
Let them live, bro.
I am curious though what they were working on. Assassin's Creed clone or something.
Nah, man.
Splinter Cell clone.
I don't know if it matters, honestly, at this point. But I don't know if it matters. But,
I think it matters a bit where what went wrong. Like, hopefully Jason gets in there. He's like frothing at the mouth right now. He's like,
he's emailing all sorts of people,
all sorts of those people, and that's like, what happened? This is juicy. This is great. Give
honestly,
it to me.
I don't think it's anything more than this
Missed
costs a lot of money. It costs lots of money. The users weren't where they wanted it to be. And they were just like, we cannot pour more money into this. How can we actually make it sustainable? Somebody ran some other numbers and was like, if we could make it into this, we could charge this and we could make this. Why do this? Why be the content maker?
I think they just blew it, man. They blew it right at launch. I think that was...
Yeah, definitely.
And that was purely on the PR marketing team. Like they should have talked to the game dev team to be like, "Hey, is this ready?"
I think they rolled. I think they rolled into the industry with Stadia. Like here we are with Stadia. They just thought they could just do something without really coming with a really well prepared plan on how to market it, how to make content for it, how to promote it.
They should have hired the trailer guy, dude. He got it right, dude. He showed all the cool things, and it should have been like Steve Jobs, fucking do it, and then leaves the room, right?
They started showing the cool things like from September of last year, right? But at the end of the day, making video games is hard, and making video games takes a long time, and you have to give it time to grow and build a culture and hire the people. You're also hiring at the same time, right? And so it's just going to slow down your process.
Classic problems. Yeah,
man. Like you can't make a game in like months. It takes years, especially at the quality and scale that would have to be in order for it to be something.
Well, when is Jade gonna? Right? When is Jade gonna learn, man? It seems like these growth moments is following her. Because what was her last thing? Was it?
I'll just say no. I'll just say
it wasn't Ubisoft, right?
I don't know anything about anything. I don't know.
Of course,
but
I'm speculating. Let's make that clear.
But I do know that like you wouldn't be there hiring people and making a video game if you knew right around the corner the axe was about to drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just like last you knew. They said, yeah, sure, take 2 years, 3 years, whatever, however length it was. Yeah, sure, go ahead, do that. And then one day, somebody was like, nah, right? And I'm sure they were as surprised as anybody else. You know what I mean?
Well, now that the context or content of Stadia is dead, right? RIP. I'm just gonna stamp it with now. We're never gonna hear from Stadia again, even though they're saying they're keeping your hardware friends there, but it's basically just keeping the body warm in the morgue, right? That's all that's happening right now. I do want to say the spirit is moving towards the Amazon guys, right? So again, the Amazon guys, I don't think if they haven't quit by now, they're not quitting, right? So what do you think the Amazon guys can learn from this? Like, what are your hopes with Amazon? Like, what can they do to turn the ship around to kind of carry the torch forward of a tech company, right? Outside of Facebook, that can actually get into this part and be a force against Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo.
Well, they're just throwing the money around, though. What they got to do is just get out of the creators' way. They got to let the creators create, form a proper culture in the studio that it's about.
And not use Lumberyard anymore, right?
Quality video games.
I'm watching.
If it means not using Lumberyard, so be it. You know what I mean? Right? But like, just
Lumberyard is killing this company. I'm reading this quote. Yeah. It's like, oh, geez, I wonder where was Lumberyard before Amazon? Oh, yeah, they killed that other company, the Crytek.
but here's the thing, like I try not to blame engines on things.
Of course.
Right? Because like at the end of the day, I've worked on that. I've worked on great engines, made bad games, and I've worked on terrible engines that have made great games, right? And so it's really about the creators and the content creators and having them do their thing, right? I would say that if your content creators are frustrated with the tools they're using, right, like that hurts the morale, that hurts the culture, that hurts how much they want to work. You know what I mean? So,
oh my god, check this out. I gotta read this whole article. Christopher Hartman, our boy, right?
Yeah.
2018. I remember that. No comment. I comment. Spent 2 decades at Take-Two and Blockbusters, BioShock, and Mafia, and the XCOM Declassified. This is us like not want to be next to that turd. I only played with that turd a bit. You left way earlier than I did. I wonder what they're talking about. Oh man, yeah. Like I think
you should read that. You should read that whole article. Right?
I'm gonna read the whole thing.
Yeah.
So technology issues, internal fighting issues.
Yeah, it's just like you have someone running the whole thing that's not really from the gaming industry, no real game people running the show. So, and then getting in the way. That's the other part. You have to let the creators create. You know what I mean?
What's sad about Amazon and respectful in a way is that Twitch is unriggable because none of their games seem to ever make it the top 10. Which is really honorable if I really think about it. It's like, oh wow, because naturally I think, well, like there are 2 games that they release, right?
Like, I mean, of course they're not gonna make it to the top 10, right?
Well, to me, I feel like naturally, if you're in the mafia of a platform that is all about popularity, right? Like there's an inclination to make it the front page and get all your advertising you can to kind of hype it up.
Not everybody's name is Brandon Pham, you know.
So I respect
by the rules.
I respect the stubborn mule who can't seem to and is not cheating their way. They're not cheating their way onto the front page of their own website, right? So it's very respectful. They're if anything, they are learning game development the right way, which is to do everything wrong by the book of how not to run a game studio. Like they're doing it by the book. Like it's only 8 years, but every problem I heard from them is pretty much every experience that I've had that's been a bad experience, right? Yeah.
I'm curious to see how the new one, like what's it called, New World. I'm curious to see if and when it comes out, like how good it is. I'm actually really curious.
My verdict is it's gonna be trash.
I mean that's a very safe verdict. Very safe.
It's very safe. It's not even prophetic, right? It's more like it's crap. So there's nothing, and a lot of it, I think it's their name, man. A lot of it is their title. If your title is not exciting, it makes me. There's nothing about it that makes me curious. The Crucible, dude. To me, the Crucible represents this story I read in middle school that I barely paid attention to, right? So throw it out the window. But I like the movie.
What a Crucible means, like it kind of fits the type of game it was. But yeah.
All right, now see, you're trying to be too smart on us dumb gamers. You got to name it something that we all know. Brute, low voice shooter guy, something that we all relate to and
oh my god,
expect it. But the names of the New World, Crucible, are they writing? Like to me, it just sounds like a failed story writer who's really into making his scripts and didn't make it in Hollywood, and now he's doing games, right? It's like, dude, chill, get to the fun, and go with something simple. Fall Guys, like just analyze what's been working, and go with that. It's crazy, but I am just to end with this, right? They do have all the right tools. Where in a very much same way like Google is trying to muscle in with. So far, they have 8 years of experience. I don't think it's all to waste. They probably learned a lot from it. If they can spend 8 more, I think they're going to crack that nut. And then it's very, we've had friends that have gone through Amazon Game Studios, and I don't see myself being an impossibility to work with Amazon Game Studios, right? Because they have the funds, they keep things going, and there's a respect to that, right? They just need the right people. All it is right people. So if you have the right money,
people. Well, the right people, and the right culture, and you have to breed that culture, and you have to maintain it and cultivate it and let it grow. You know what I mean?
Well, I think by now they probably recognize some bad apples, and that they can't just kick the grunts out to the curb anymore. And so it's only a matter of time. We've been through studios that had the most stubborn way of keeping people, and eventually that has a time limit, man, from what I've seen. From what I've heard. And then, if they still have extra money to kind of bring in a new crew, I see Amazon kind of carrying on the torch, what Stadia was aspiring to, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Jade Raymond somehow goes to Amazon next. Like, what other studios are left? Wasn't it EA before, right? It was EA before, Ubisoft before.
Yeah.
It's either, let's make a bet, right? It's either going to be Amazon or 2K.
I would also say own studio.
Oh, from scratch. That is getting popular right now. Remote first pitch studios, but I don't know. If I had that kind of resume, I'll still go big because you can still cash in with Amazon for a while.
Well, like, it's about cashing in, right? But like, at the end of the day, man, like, if it's about new experiences and really pushing something unique and special, maybe it starts small and then maybe you go big once you know you have something. Because like going to some of these big boys out the gate, the clock starts running.
Expectations are huge, yeah.
Yeah, clock starts running immediately. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but the cash registers starts dinging right away. I don't know. If I was in that position and I've just seen how the game is run, I'm just going to try to cash grab what I can in the minutes that I have. And I mean, that's what these CEOs do, right? They ruin a company, but like down the block, you know, another multi-billion-dollar company wants to hire them right away. I mean, they just switch companies, switch teams for a little while, and perhaps they'll turn it around. But yeah, I respect the players of that game of being able to use reputation and then still earn the dollars and don't have to deliver anything. There's a certain respect to that.
Yeah. But I would definitely say this case of Stadia, it seems like it's more like one of those carpets being pulled out from under somebody, more so, I would think.
Yeah, over a steaming pile of poo the whole time. I just, from day one, man, I just knew. I just felt like Google was not the place to ever spend that much time to figure it out, because it's like SpaceX, right? That's not like 2-3 year thing. That's a 10-year, 2-decade type of goal, right? And games, I feel, is very similar in that you got to be in it for 10, 20 years. And Amazon they somehow have that mentality. I don't know what's going on. Like, you would think Bezos would be the one who cuts you off.
Let me just be real. I think if New World comes out and is not a success, I think that's a wrap.
You think that's it? All right, let's call it, man.
But we'll see. We'll see.
I love these roundtables to be prophetic, because we do people who just listens in. They listen all the way back from the beginning, and it's funny that I get people kind of email me and telling me like, wow, you've been calling this shit from 2 years ago. So let's go ahead and put this out there, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think if Crucible or New World, if they completely failed, Amazon Game Studios.
Crucible's already canceled, right? Or it's already a wrap. But it's New World is the thing that they're working on. And like, if it's not successful, like, I don't see how they continue. But we'll see. Let's
see how willing this new CEO is. For him to kind of call out the game division and as a focus, dude, I think there's something up with that he sees value and he's going to stick to that. You don't make statements like that and then next year shut it down, and because that shows a failure on his part, dude, as a CEO. It's like, hey, you say you're going to focus on this and you're going to shut it down?
I mean, like, it's easy to say that now, and then when you see the financial numbers come through, you're like, yeah, well, I was wrong.
I'm Amazon, bitch. They have money, all the money in the world. 8 years and nothing to show it. They're still going, dude. That's enough to tell me, it's like, wow, they're in it. Deep.
We'll see. Godspeed for them. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, Ray, for this late night. I knew right away when I saw that article, I can't wait to talk to Ray about this. In a good and bad way, of course. You know, sympathies and empathy for all those that are affected. You guys are talented. Yeah. Ain't none of this about you.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? You didn't start with that though. You just started hate right away out the gate.
Google, I hate Google for shutting down studios or shutting down projects, you know, especially it's showing promise. And I just knew it was bad news because I knew that this day would come where 3 years down the line, has it been 3 years?
I don't even
People
know.
are going to be out of jobs.
I don't even know. It's been 3 years.
It feels short.
Feels like
pretty quick. Yeah. It's honestly not enough time to make anything.
It's not. It's not.
No. It's sad. Well, that's Google for you. It's like, why am I able to scan on my Google Maps, but I can't walk around in your 3D real life fully world? I don't understand. I can go point A to point B right here with 2 seconds. Anyways.
It's terrible.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for tuning in. Have a good night, man. And for all those, thank you for listening. As always, hit us up in Discord, express your opinions, comment on the YouTube. We always like to argue or agree with you. Again, everything is an opinion of our own. We don't hate Jade. We love the Ubisoft guys. And Google Stadia, hey, you know, if you are looking for developers, you have 2 capable ones that wouldn't be mine hollering. We're just saying this out of fun, and hopefully everyone is good and well. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Peace.